All right, welcome to the first of two screencasts on using MySQL for Web 182. And this one we're going to look at downloading and installing an SQL file, which stands for Structured Query Language, and how to do that locally using XAMPP or MAMP. So to start with, go to Moodle and you'll download the Create MySQL database file. Next, you'll want to store that file in your CIS 115 assignment 4. If you don't have an assignment 4 folder, please make one. And then you can just store it right here. Technically, you can run it from anywhere, but we'll just keep it all in one place. Once you have it stored there, open up the file in the editor of your choice. I'm still using MS Visual Studio Code. Really like this editor a lot. In short, here's what the SQL file is. You can pretty much read through it and tell what it does. And so again, it stands for Structured Query Language. And you'll see that it creates a new database called test, and then it uses that file, which is really important. So once we use the file, then we can add tables to it. So we're going to add a table called personnel, and after that, you'll see it adds first name and last name and what have you. And all this is explained in the book. After that, it populates the table, and then it creates a new table called timesheet and adds these fields to it with their data types, again explained in the book, and then just adds a small little data set to populate the table. Up XAMPP or MAMP, and you'll need both Apache and MySQL running. And the easiest way to do this, you can also use command line if you're comfortable with it. That's fine if you've had DBA 120. Otherwise, PHPMyAdmin is a front-end GUI that connects with MySQL, and it's really easy to work with. It looks a little ugly, but that's all right. So what we're going to do here, if you don't see PHPMyAdmin, I think you can click on, in XAMPP, click on the admin button next to MySQL. Otherwise, you can just go to your local host. Mine's got a different port. Don't be thrown by that. We can have different ports for all of our different services we're running, our programs. And I could just type PHPMyAdmin, and it will bring up that this interface. So the next thing we'll want to do is open up the SQL tab. And by the way, there's a number of ways to do this. This is the easiest, I think, for a small file like what we're working with. I click on the SQL tab, and this will run any queries we send it. Next, jump back to your editor and select all of the code that's there for the .sql file and copy it. And then head back to PHPMyAdmin, and you can just paste that code in there. And then click on the Go button. And if all goes well, you should see a bunch of green check marks. And you'll see over here on the left-hand side, we've created a new database called tests. So this is where your database are. And a database is comprised of a lot of things, but in this case, we're just looking at tables. And we've got a personnel table that you can see how the SQL code is now translated into this actual table, and a timesheet table. And if I go back to personnel and click on it and I browse the data, you can see it's populated the table. Next, to continue working locally, what you'll want to do is download the assignment chapter 14 files from Moodle, and this is where the fixit files are. And so I've got fixit 1 through 5. The modifies are here, and you're going to be required to fix the files according to the instructions. I've gone through and tested some of these. They seem to work just fine, but please post or send me an email if you run into any trouble. And so that's the first part of this series. The next one, we're going to look at how to set up a database in your web host online.